ye rivers of holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meet in our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty, meet in our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation.
My fellow Amazonians, good morning. This is Dr. Ayaba. Oh, now please, day, she shake no day. We noticed yesterday they brought the body of late General Efang to Guzang. And it was very strategic. The war of liberation is about setting narratives and controlling narratives. Since General Efang was kidnapped from the hospital, the enemy has not known what to do with him, to keep him alive or to murder him. First, he was subjected to torture. He lost consciousness. They sent individuals to the General Hospital of Bamenda and brought in medical staff to upstation Bamenda. They resuscitated him. They continued with torture until he died. From there, they took his body to the mortuary and they mounted security guard armor cars in the mortuary for all the entire period. Once they engage in the actions in the hospital, we notified relevant international actors on their obligation under international humanitarian law. I'll leave it at that. Then they faked the signature of the director of the hospital and made an announcement. They withdrew a couple of military personnel from the hospital and replaced them with plainclothes security men. We were watching every move of theirs. Then they moved armor personnel carriers into Guzang as a test run. We have that on video. We sent a unit in there to strike on them. They moved out. They have been confused what to do with the man that they've hunted for 7 years and finally murdered. The reason they have brought him yesterday, even after making the fake announcement, is because of the bloodied nose we gave them on the 11th of February. They know our people are vulnerable. They know that 11th of February demonstrated the strength of our forces and the leadership I provide. They have tried desperately to change the narrative since they know there are so many amongst us who will not wish our forces to have one day of glory. They know they can easily change the narrative from the victory that you had on the 11th of February to the body of General Efang. And most of you are falling for it. You have taken the bait from the enemy, changed the narrative, rather than perpetuating and propagating the disgrace and humiliation you gave and occupying power, riding in armor cars. You've changed the subject to a man who was giving his life for our country. General Efang, you are placed day and you should rest in peace. The men you've left behind will continue to fight until the last soldier of La République du Cameroon is booted out of the territory. Yesterday, 2 of your units in Mezam fought in the center of the city and drove the enemy from several places. General Efang did not die because he carried a rifle. He died because he is an Ambazonian. I use the present tense. The children of Ngabu, Baby Mata, Grandmama Api, Samsoya were not murdered because they carried rifles. For all of you, and I say this based on history, I will never celebrate the demise of an Ambazonian, even when we differ. The enemy does not know who is or who is against. The enemy considers you an Ambazonian. When Gaza is flattened, they don't make a distinction between those who are for Hamas, those who are not, or those who are for Israel, or those who are not. When those who think they are entitled to define your present and shape your future, when their power is threatened, they will kill everybody. The master feels revulsion when the slave who had succumbed to authority rises up to question that authority. And I want each Ambazonian to know, from 1961 up till today, many Ambazonians have been killed. Even John Fundi, who later became the allied, was locked up at his home for months. Late Pa Mukong was in jail. Late Ayaba was in jail. They don't kill you because you carry a rifle. They kill you because you're an Ambazonian. They kill you because you rejected the dispossession of your land. And if you think, if you embrace Cameroon, if you change your name to Roger Miller, if you worship their flag, you will be accepted. No, the servant never sits on the same table like the master. Even on issues like education, even on issues like sports, never. The Francophones are so arrogant. But things are changing. And we'll be having a global meeting on Sunday to discuss these things. The enemy has collapsed. For the first time, you are getting dissenting voices of Cameroonians raising the question of the ability of the enemy to prevail in Ambazonia. Because they have concluded, and rightly, they cannot defeat Ambazonia. They cannot. And as I said yesterday, I, Dr. Cho Ayaba, am not interested in compromise. There will be no compromise on the question of our independence and the sovereignty being bestowed to the Amazonian people over our territory. Not because I hate Cameroon, because as I have explained many times, check across the world, there is no precedence. Cameroon hasn't got any example they can follow. I listen to some charlatans and traitors, they talking about, UK model, Canada model. Absolutely ridiculous. England has a treaty, 300 years old treaty with Scotland to come together to set up the United Kingdom with Wales and Northern Ireland. It's based on the foundation of law. It's based on the recognition of peoplehood. It's based on the recognition of separate identity. That is different from a country that believes you are their slaves, you are part and parcel of their so-called indivisible Cameroon. And you either succumb to that nonsense, or you find yourself in the grave. So when you're looking at models, you look at the context: democracy, autocracy. Secondly, as I have argued, Francophone states. The emergence of the French Fifth Republic, even the fourth, was based on a parliamentary system that they thought was chaotic. They centralized governance in France, and de Gaulle became the first president of a centralized state. The French don't believe in minorities. That is clear in a letter they sent to the Minority Rights Commission, I think in 1989 or 1988. They don't recognize minorities. Cameroon has no solution. The one who break into your house, occupied your living space, rape your wife, and turn your kids into slaves, cannot open the window while you are standing outside and tells you, I am willing to make compromises in your own house. Get the hell out of my house first. That's when we can start talking. If we are having any conversation while you're sitting in my living room and I am outside, it is when do you get the hell out of my own house? The reason all political leaders, from the Funchas to the Munas, have failed is because they did not understand these facts. That it is not simply because they haven't made a better argument. It is because Cameroon considers itself as the mother state of a so-called defunct German colonial enclave. And it has the right to exercise violence over a people. Cameroon lives in a system that does not know the devolution of powers. They have changed it, whether they call it province or they call it region or they call it special status. You can change the name 100 times. The logic is going to remain the same. Cameroon has run out of time. They neither have a solution to the malaise they are going through in their own country, nor do they even have the good faith to contemplate an honest discussion about their presence in our homeland. That is why they orchestrated the Swiss process to divert. They orchestrated the Canadian process to divert. Their hope is that these diversions will win a lot of vulnerable people to believe in their good intentions and stand against my supposed extremism and non-compromising position. My position is based on history. It's based on experience. No matter how Foncha compromised, how Endele compromised, it did not work. No matter how others have compromised, it has not worked. Cameroon's intention is to extinguish us from our land, take over the land, and do whatever it wants to do with our resources. It doesn't give a damn about you. Neither does it give a damn about me. It is interested in its geopolitical space. It's interested in the demonstration of power. Paul Biya has also learned that Nyasimbe Eyadema gave a sovereign national conference. It ended up collapsing the Eyadema dynasty. They learned that Omar Bongo made some compromises. It ended up taking them out. They have learned Hissène Habré. All the Francophone countries made cosmetic compromises with opposition parties. It ended up in their demise. That is why Biya has never compromised. That is why Ayijo never compromised. Integrate within the CNU, or you end up in jail or you are dead. That is why they could not compromise with Patasan. That is why you have teachers in jail. And for 7 years, they have not compromised. For 7 years, They have still used the Bafut airport as a concentration camp to bring in Ambazonians and ship them to Yaoundé. They have not made any compromise on any issue. We will not compromise. We will fight till the bitter end until they succumb, and we will dictate the terms of the surrender. Let Cameroon know this. We have the time. They don't have it. They have collapsed financially. They have collapsed in terms of the fabric of their society. They've collapsed in their moral standing. They've collapsed completely as a state. What is holding them together is the teaching of the international community, the sense of legitimization presented by diplomats in Yaoundé, the sense of survival presented by international financial institutions to avoid sudden collapse that might lead to international security issues. We understand it. And we play with knowledge. We will continue to fight. We have authorized our forces to leave the body of General Efang where it is. We will keep them in their confusion. They can make another announcement. They can sit in armored cars and get civilians around. We've gone through that. We'll learn our lessons. And we affirm and let Cameroon get this very clearly. This is the generation that writes the end of their history in Ambazonia.
The Amazonian, special loyalty. Praise to our Savior who granted us the freedom. Allegiance to the hero who fought along the gather. Glory to glory, we rise and never to fall. Here in a nation, flowing with and holy. Glory, glory, glory to the Father for making you a nation, a joy forevermore. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty in our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, you shall live in plenty in our need, and your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation.
Ambazonia Defense Forces, the vanguards of the Ambazonia War of Independence. Welcome to ACN.